Curtis Sliwa is your upcoming host. We are watching the skies because I think, Curtis, really at any moment, any of these drones could be buzzing you up by the beret. Here's Curtis Sliwa.
There is no story bigger than the story of the drones for 3 weeks flying over New Jersey, your state, James Flippin. And, of course, Staten Island, which should really be attached to New Jersey. It's more like New Jersey than it is New York City. It should be,
yes.
And I figured it out. It took me to figure it out. I'm not a Jersey boy. You know, I like going to Jersey. As you know, I know probably more about New Jersey than most New Yorkers. I think you would give me those props.
Yeah,
right?
I would say that, yeah.
Spent a lot of time in Newark, Trenton, Paterson, Jersey City. So I figured it out. First off, let's go to half in the bag, Phil Murphy. You remember the other day he was urging that there be a meeting, that he wasn't getting any answers. You know, this was during the day before happy hour when he's not knocking him back, so he's shaking like a leaf. The guy looks like he's got the rum rouge and the Jake leg, and he said this.
I was on with the White House and Homeland Security leadership literally at the very top yesterday for pretty much all day. I'm hoping we'll get answers sooner than later.
So he was hoping he would get answers sooner than later. He called for a briefing and a meeting. And, you know, yesterday he didn't even show up for the very briefing and meeting that he called for because he's on a bender. You got to understand, people asked me, last night, Robert Holden, we were out at Leonard's for the annual Whitestone Republican Christmas party, which is Vicky Palladino's celebration for all the great work that her club does. Biggest Republican club, a revival session from Brooklyn to Buffalo. And Robert Holden, you know what he said? Robert Holden said? Why do you call him half in the bag, Curtis? Right? You wanted to know that, too.
Just yesterday, I said I thought by now that he'd be fully in the bag.
No. You see, most of the day he is sober, although he shakes because he's waiting desperately for happy hour at 5. Then, as per his regulations on the ongoing drought, he will not put any ice cubes nor any water in his scotch. He drinks it straight, knocks it back, quite a few. And then he's okay the rest of the night. But I think he consumed a little too much. That's why he was on a bender yesterday. Imagine, he called a briefing in this most serious of issues for New Jersey, and he didn't even show up for his own briefing. The feds were there. The state was there. Everybody was there except half in the bag Murphy. So you see, half in the bag means half the day he's in the bag. You got that? Okay, so then we went to the Pentagon to get an answer as to what the hell is going on.
So aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
So notice the circle jerk here, right? We throw it to the Pentagon, and they throw it back to local law enforcement.
It's a little bit of a hot potato for the political sphere.
So what have I continued to say? It's up to the patriots out there. They should assemble in Morristown in the Green, where the Revolutionary War was fought against the crown, and bakers, butchers,
candlestick makers.
Yes, and also immediately dropped what they were doing and came out to fight the crown. Ragtag as they were at that time, right? And what did they do? They loaded their muskets and they fired on the redcoats. So in this case, we're firing on these drones. But my favorite, remember, is the congressman that I introduced as the keynote speaker of the recent Bergen County Republican dinner, their annual dinner, in which I was I was so happy to introduce Congressman Jeff Van Drew, Republican, who was wearing the checkerboard waffle weave flame retarded jacket that looked like he was at a bowling lane in 1950s. He was magnificent yesterday.
These drones very well could be launched from a ship. It could be hundreds of miles out at sea. These types of drones go much greater distances. These, again, are something that we normally don't see in the United States. So there is a real possibility. Could it be China? Absolutely. Could it be somebody else? It sure could. Here's the deal. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it's about. They haven't taken one down to analyze it. They have no idea where it comes from, but they know that it's not that.
I know where it's from. I know. I remember walking down South Orange Avenue in Newark, probably one of the roughest areas in all of Newark. I was passing the old Victorian Theater, which became Masjid Muhammad in Newark, or better known as Mosque Number 25, where the Screwy Louis Farrakhan actually was assigned by Elijah Muhammad many, many years ago, before they decided to whack Malcolm X in the ballroom opposite Columbia Presbyterian. Are you familiar with that story?
Yeah, I am familiar with that.
Good. So I was thinking back in my annals, and I was saying to myself, we dealt with the Mothership connection about 1986, 87, Million Man March, which turned out to be the 500,000-man march. Remember, he was getting a lot of attention, a lot of recognition, and he came on with Ted Koppel in Nightline. This is before you were birthed here. Or maybe you were going to high school at that time. What was the name of your high school?
Glen Ridge High School.
Oh, it's all white all the time. They certainly weren't teaching about the Nation of Islam.
It is in Essex County, though, right down the street.
No, I understand that, but it ain't no Newark. Am I right on that? It ain't no Newark. It ain't Irvington. It ain't East Orange.
No, it is not.
So I'm thinking back and I'm saying to myself, this was the first guy to talk about, aren't they all saying a mothership off?
Jeff Van Drew floated the idea. Then the Pentagon was quick to say that's not the case.
I have the answers here.
Okay.
1987 on Ted Koppel's Nightline, best remembered. Remember, day 444, the Iranian hostage crisis, right before Ronald Reagan was sworn in, and that was it. Hostage crisis over. You remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I want you to listen to Screwy Louis Farrakhan, because he spoke of the Mothership connection.
Built like the universe itself, it's circular and it holds within it 1,500 little wheel-like planes. Since 1930, they have known that this plane exists. Go ahead. But why won't they tell the American people? It is because the white man does not want to admit that there is a technology in the world and a power in the world that makes his power look like that jumbo jet in comparison to that huge plane. Go ahead. He don't want to admit that he don't have what it takes to deal with that, what they call walnut-shaped object in the sky.
Go ahead.
Walnut-shaped object in the sky.
Okay.
Now, why would you rule that out? This guy was talking about that in 1987 with Ted Koppel on Nightline.
Screwy Louis Farrakhan.
Screwy Louis Farrakhan, and people should remember that. I remember hearing that, because they don't let no white boy into Mosque Number 25 on South Orange Avenue.
That is true.
But I remember they had amplification of Screwy Louis Khan's many speeches. And he was talking about the Mothership connection off the Jersey Shore. But there is a way for us to fight back, because I don't want to deal with these politicians. They're all lying. I mean, what are they saying? They're basically saying, we don't know. There's no danger from the drones, but we have no idea what the drones are, right? There's no danger from the drones, but we have no idea what the drones are. Half of the bag, Murphy said, it has sophisticated capabilities, like becoming undetectable once a police drone or a helicopter gives chase. All of a sudden, it goes stealth. And remember, if you look at it, then its light goes off. Tell me the guy ain't drinking heavy, right? Come on.
I mean, look, I'm sure there's plenty about technology that I don't know, that I don't fully understand. Maybe he's explaining stuff that is outside the norm, but Yeah, I'm not really sure what he's talking about.
Flying in formations about 50 feet in the air and covered in red, green, and white lights. Some nights, 180 sightings alone. And sometimes it hovers in one place for hours, for longer than the battery life of known civilian unarmed aircraft. So you see, all roads lead back to Screwy Louis Farrakhan and the Mothership connection. Could I hear Screwy Louis Farrakhan again? It's probably the only time you're going to hear him on WABC, always broadcasting Caucasian. But, I mean, let's give it up for the brother. The brother who first told us about the Mothership connection on Ted Koppel's Nightline in 1987.
Built like the universe itself, it's circular and it holds within it 1,500 little wheel-like planes. Since 1930, they have known that this plane exists. But why won't they tell the American people? It is because the white man does not want to admit that there is a technology in the world and a power in the world that makes his power look like that jumbo jet in comparison to that huge plane.
Go ahead, brother.
He don't want to admit that he don't have what it takes to deal with that, what they call walnut-shaped object in the sky.
Well, I know what it's going to take to deal with this, and you've tried to hold me back, James Flippin. No more. I'm assembling the Patriots, and they are going to meet in the Morristown Green. Get your muskets, get your long rifles, get your shotguns. Since government has failed us, we must do what the patriots of the Revolutionary War did. Assemble and then deal with this oppression. Meantime, I understand that we are going to have the assistance of Shamu El Jefe Chris Christie, who has agreed, like Orca the killer whale, to be going up and down the Jersey Shore looking for that Mothership connection.
Good, he's going to patrol and look for it.
High in the sky.
Very nice.
We're bringing everyone together, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and what I'm saying is, if we even think we see a drone in the sky, you cock those Winchester shotguns. You blast it out of the sky. And even though they say it falls under federal jurisdiction and you could be charged with a federal crime for interfering with federal, what do they call that? UFC,
FAA.
FAA regulations. I am all giving you a license to defend the Garden State. Your former governor has agreed to patrol the Jersey Shore from Wildwood to Point Pleasant, to be on the lookout for the Mothership connection of Screwy Louis Farrakhan. And for the rest of us, we will assemble in the Morristown Green like patriots of old, with our bugle and fifer corps, right? And just like in those days, we may appear to be a ragtag band of the bakers, of the butchers,
And the candlestick makers. I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy.
and the blacksmiths. Don't leave out the blacksmiths. I believe that the reason they don't mention Farrakhan and the Mothership connection is DEI is still in effect because Trump has not been sworn into office. But you know that Murphy, his whole administration, everything is DEI. Farrakhan's complexion is his protection, and he will not bring this up. Trust me. A cracker, was walking down South Orange Avenue. I stood before mosque number 25. I heard the amplification of what they call the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Go ahead.
In which he talked about the mothership flying high in the sky. I challenge any of you. If everyone else has a conclusion, why would my conclusion not be correct? When he had predicted this in 1987, and it goes back to before World War II. In the words of Elijah Muhammad and Fard Muhammad, who he stole the idea of the Nation of Islam from in Detroit, To Scooey Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X, I know I'm right. I dare any of you to come up with a different conclusion. I stand with Congressman, what's his name again?
Jeff Van Drew.
Oh, I introduced him at the
You did, with the
Bergen County.
Flame retarded waffle weave.
Right, it looked like a throwback to the 1950s. I stand with, what's his name again?
Jeff Van Drew.
Jeff Van Drew. Never trust anyone with 3 names.
You have said that before.
I have figured it out, ladies and gentlemen. 3 weeks of not knowing what's going on, and it took this New York boy a New York City moment to figure it out. Now, Bloomfield got, get the hell out of here.
That so-called walnut-shaped object.
Exactly.